Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Last Lap. In today's episode, we're going to be previewing all the action happening at Daytona this weekend. It'll be the final race of the regular season for the Cup Series, and the Xfinity Series will also be racing, not for the final regular season race, but they'll be racing as well. But before we hop into it, I just want to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button. It really does go a long way, helps the channel grow, helps us reach new people. You can also hit that like button, and you can hit that little notification bell as well. That lets you know when we upload a new video, which is usually every Monday and Friday. Also, I have to introduce my friend and co-host Matthew. Oh, I almost forgot Instagram too. We gotta talk about the Instagram, man. The Instagram, that's a good space to hit us up. Also, check us out over there at The Last Lap News. That'll be linked in the description. Now, I can introduce Matthew, my friend and co-host. It's been a long week, but we made it through our first week of college. How you feeling about that? And then also Daytona this week. It'll be very interesting for sure.
Well, it has been a long week for me as I wrapping up the first week of senior year at college, and it's gonna be a long semester. So I'm ready for it, and hopefully I get this done soon. And Daytona is this weekend. The regular season finale is here, and the energy is all hype right now. I mean, this is gonna be intense. I know that everybody's gonna make desperate moves. It's probably gonna be a wreck-filled race because, everybody's. This is crunch time for them. So it's gonna be a wild race this weekend.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that first. Actually, since there was no major news that came out. I mean, Eric Jones re-signed with Richard Petty Motorsports. That's kind of news, but we want to talk more about the playoffs, since that's what's really happening right now, and that's what the biggest topic is heading into Daytona. And there's only one spot left in the playoffs, so I think each of us are kind of going to go back and forth a little bit and say one or two drivers that we might think could win. But let me give the current scenario right now. So there are currently 15 drivers out of 16 positions that are locked in for the playoffs based on either wins or points. The two on points are Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick. They're locked in on points. They're way far ahead, and they don't have to worry about a new winner winning and being all of that. So they're good. The driver who currently holds the last spot on points is Tyler Reddick, the number 8 car. He is 25 points ahead of his RCR teammate Austin Dillon. That could obviously change going into Daytona. Tyler Reddick could get in a wreck. Austin Dillon could get a lot of points or even win, make his way into the playoffs and bump Tyler Reddick out. Or Tyler Reddick could stay ahead of Austin Dillon in points, but that could not even matter because there is a list of drivers who are eligible if they are to win at Daytona, that they would lock themselves into the playoffs. So Michael McDowell did it earlier in the season. He locked himself in with the Daytona 500 win. So I'm going to go through the list really quick of some other drivers that can lock themselves in with a win. And that list includes Matt DiBenedetto, Chris Buescher, Ricky Stenhouse, Ross Chastain, Bubba Wallace, Chase Briscoe, Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez, Ryan Newman, Ryan Preece, Cole Custer, Anthony Alfredo, and Corey LaJoie. Shout out to the NASCAR website for that list because I did not know all of the drivers on that list. I didn't know LaJoie was eligible, but shout out to NASCAR.com for that list. But Matthew, if you were to pick one driver besides Tyler Reddick or Austin, or I guess you can include Reddick and Dillon as well. If you could pick one or two drivers off of that list that could possibly get the win and lock themselves into the playoffs, who do you think you would pick? You could do one or two. Just give me a driver or two that you think could possibly upset and get the win and lock themselves into the playoffs.
Well, realistically, Tyler Reddick should be able to advance his way in the playoffs, realistically. But we're at Daytona, so nothing's guaranteed. So it's gonna be a tough task for him. I don't think RCR is gonna be hasn't been sleeping well this week, knowing that one driver is worried about keeping their position, the other is worried about trying to make it in the playoffs. So they're not getting a lot of sleep. I know that, but all these other teams you just listed, they're sleeping fine because they know they just have to win. So, I mean, there's no pressure. If you win, you're in. If they don't win, then they're not. So, it goes two ways for the rest of those teams there. So, it's going to be interesting. Two drivers I feel like based on how good they are restricted play race, super speedway racing, that I feel like they have a good shot at. Doesn't mean they'll win, probably not, because all those top drivers in the playoffs are actually really good at restricted play racing too. So it'll be hard to beat them, but it could be a wreck fest, and one of these drivers below the cut line can win this race easily. So if I were to pick two drivers, I would pick Matt DiBenedetto's one of them, because I know this isn't Daytona, but the last two Talladega races, he was in the lead at the last lap and got passed on the last lap. So he knows how to get up there in these super speedway races. So Matt DiBenedetto does have a shot, in my opinion. The other one is Bubba Wallace. He's also really good at super speedway. He finished second here in the 2018 Daytona 500. Last year, he was in the lead at one point, going 3 wide until the big one happened behind him, but he ended up finishing 5th still. So those are my two drivers I have in mind. Both are really good at these super speedways and put themselves in their positions. Let's see, is there another one that might be good? Ryan Newman too. We've seen him up front in these super speedway races too. So Ryan Newman's also a shot. But yeah, that's my picks personally. But anybody in that list can win. So it doesn't mean they're gonna win, but who knows what could happen.
Yeah, anybody on that list could win, but I think the drivers that you listed are a fairly good chance, I guess, it's Daytona, anything can happen, but those few I would say have the best chance of possibly pulling off an upset. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is another possible pick. I know he's not with Roush anymore, so he doesn't have quite as good of cars as he used to, but he's still really good at restrictor plate races. You could throw Stenhouse into that hat as well. I was going to say Stenhouse and Newman, but you said Newman, but those are good picks as well. Matty D, like you said, really good. Chastain, you could throw him in there. Chip Ganassi racing car. You could throw him in there. Eric Jones, you could throw him in there too. He's won 2 restrictor plate races with Joe Gibbs Racing. I know it's still not.
He didn't win 2.
The Clash.
But that's a non-points race.
It's still a win on a restrictor.
Plus, only 6 cars were left on the track.
It's still a restrictor plate race. You gotta put yourself in those positions. But Eric Jones, you could throw him in there. Bubba Wallace, like you said, he ran well. He ran well in the duels as well earlier in the year in Daytona. I believe he finished 3rd or something in his duel. So there's a giant list of drivers that could win. Those are a few that we think have the best chance of pulling. Austin Dillon, I know he's fighting for points, but he could win as well. He won the Daytona 500. He's a fairly good restrictor plate racer as well, so you could throw Austin Dillon in there for possibly getting the win and just try knocking his teammate out that way. But there's a lot of good options here, and it'll be interesting to see what happens, see who can possibly win their way in and knock Tyler Reddick out. So it'll be interesting for sure how that works. And another headline going into this weekend is the regular season championship. So that's between Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin. As of right now, Kyle Larson is 28 points above Denny Hamlin for that regular season championship, but Denny Hamlin is a very good restrictor plate racer, so he could go out, maybe win some stages, or possibly get the win. Kyle Larson could maybe get involved in a wreck, or just not be up at the front and get stage points. So, Matthew, what do you think the chances are that Denny Hamlin could possibly take over Kyle Larson and win the regular season championship? If you were to give it a percentage 0 to 100, what do you think you would give it for Denny Hamlin possibly winning the regular season championship?
Well, first of all, I want to make this comment. Those 2 picks you made with Chastain and Stenhouse, those are more like who's gonna start the big one, Talladega, more predictions. Daytona, But as for the regular season championship, it's a 50-50 shot for Hamlin because Larson could do good, or Larson could get in the big one, and basically that will give Hamlin that regular season championship, and vice versa. So there's no clear winner for me. Technically Larson should have this under control, but it is Daytona. Anything can happen. So I guess we'll see on this weekend, but it's a 50-50 shot.
I think for me, I'm gonna go like 51% Kyle Larson, 49% Denny Hamlin. Just give Larson a slight edge here, just because he has a 28-point lead, and that's a fairly decent lead going into a race. But like you said, it's Daytona. Anything can happen, but I'm gonna give the slight advantage to Larson here. I'm gonna go 51% Larson, 49% Denny Hamlin. But that's everything regarding the playoffs going into this week at Daytona. A lot of big stories. Somebody could upset and get into the playoffs, and then something could happen with the regular season championship as well. That's 15 extra playoff points for whoever gets the regular season championship. So there's a lot on the line there as well. But now is the part that Matthew and I look forward to the most, and that is our predictions. So I'll go first for my Xfinity picks, or, well, do you want me to go first for my Xfinity pick? Probably. You probably do, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Of course.
So for me, I'm going to go with the 11 of Justin Haley, just because he's been known to run very well at the restricted plate racetracks. His colleague teammate Jeb Burton went at Talladega earlier in the year, and they are really good at working together. So I'm going to go with Justin Haley for my Xfinity pick. And who are you going to go with for your Xfinity pick?
Well, I'm going to go on a safe bet here. I'm going to put Christopher Bell as my Xfinity pick. He's going to be racing the 54 car this weekend in the Xfinity Series. And even though it's Daytona, anybody can win. But I feel like Christopher Bell, who has Cup experience, is going to help him out a little bit compared to some of the other Xfinity drivers that are in there. So I got Christopher Bell.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Christopher Bell will be racing that 54 car this week. No Ty Gibbs. Now, obviously, Kyle Busch is done. I'm surprised they I'm not really not surprised that they didn't put Ty Dillon back in that car, but he did run Daytona and Talladega, I think. He ran in the 54 car, but I guess I'm kind of not really surprised they didn't put him back in the car. But anyways, you can go ahead and list off your Cup picks. And I want you, for your third pick, I want you to throw one of those drivers on that list we talked about earlier. I want you to throw one of them on there for your final pick. I'll do the same thing, just so we have like an actual wild card pick for our final one. So you can do your two best picks and then throw a wild card in there. And go ahead.
Alright, so my main pick is going to be Brad Keselowski because of how good of a super speedway driver he is on Daytona and Talladega. He won at Talladega this year, so I feel like Brad Keselowski is going to get some redemption from the 500 this year. As for my second pick, I'm going with Kyle Larson. Even though it is a super speedway race, I mean, Larson can still be up there, so I got to have him as a safe bet just in case. I'm not going to leave Larson hanging in my picks. But as for my third pick, a.k.a. who will try to make it in, I'm going Matt DiBenedetto. Matt DiBenedetto will win, or at least will try to win at Daytona and make it in that final spot.
That's solid. Those are solid picks. I'm surprised you didn't throw somebody else in there that I'm going to take as my first pick, but I like Matt DiBenedetto as your third pick. He might be the favorite in that category to try and upset just because of his last two Talladega races there, but I'm going to go ahead and list off my picks. As for my first pick, I have to pick Denny Hamlin. He is one of the best, not restrictor plate, super speedway racers out there, at least as of the past few years. He's shown up at Talladega and at Daytona, so I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin as my first pick. For my second pick, I think I'm going to go Joey Logano. I think I'm going to go with him as my second pick. He's also been very good at the restrictor plate races as well, just like his teammate Brad Keselowski. He had that flip at Talladega back in April or May or whatever and started complaining to NASCAR and all that, and he was up front on the last lap in the Daytona 500, got spun by Brad Keselowski, unfortunately, and set off that huge wreck. So Joey Logano knows how to put himself in those positions late in races. I feel like he could come through and get the win there. And as for my third pick and the one off of that list, I think I'm going to go Bubba Wallace here. I think Bubba could have a chance. He could work with those Toyota teammates, and they might try to help him get a win. It might, I hate how all the teams meet together and they're like, oh, well, you guys have to all work together and all of that. But I feel like that could actually work for Toyota. They could go into this race saying, hey, we need to get Bubba Wallace a win. We need to get him locked into the playoffs. So if all of those cars are together and they find themselves together near the end of the race, I feel like they would be willing to push Bubba Wallace to the win and not try to make a move, especially if it's Denny Hamlin that's pushing Bubba Wallace. So I think Bubba could possibly get an upset and lock himself into the playoffs. That's all I gotta say for my picks. Do you have any other closing thoughts or anything, any reactions to my picks?
Not really. It's gonna be an exciting weekend. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. The Xfinity race Friday night, Cup race Saturday night. I always love when they go under the lights at Daytona, especially in the summertime. It's unfortunate they're not on July 4th weekend anymore, but it's the final race of the regular season, so that kind of makes up for that lost ground with it being on July 4th usually. But it'll be interesting for sure. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you guys let us know who you think could possibly upset and get into the playoffs. It'll be interesting to see if anyone can pull that off. But until our next video, we will see you guys then.